Binghamton Department of Public Works spent much of today clearing out homeless encampments along the south bank of the Susquehanna River. At around 8 this morning, police officers began notifying the inhabitants of the pending removal and giving them time to collect as many of their belongings as they could carry. Cops even helped them push a shopping cart of their possessions. Over the past several months, these illegal encampments have begun lining both sides of the river, often between the flood control walls and the water. Mayor Jared Cram says the city has compassion for the homeless and tries to connect them with services, but cannot tolerate the growing mess.
We cannot just turn a blind eye to the fact that certain parts of our riverfront have become dumping grounds for trash and garbage, for hypodermic needles, human waste. These things are not sanitary. It's a public safety, really emergency in my estimation, and it's putting first responders at risk.
Cram says police offer to help the unhoused receive shelter through the Department of Social Services. Local housing justice consultant and Binghamton City Council member-elect Rebecca Rathmell says all 150 shelter beds in our community are full, and so are the roughly 300 hotel rooms that DSS contracts with when there is no room at the shelters. Rathmell says the number of unsheltered people in our area has exploded over the past decade from roughly a dozen to over 70. She says uprooting these vulnerable people who have no other options without warning is cruel.
They do not have anywhere else to go. And so when we penalize them by throwing their belongings in the garbage and issuing charges and fines without providing any kind of support or service coordination, that is inhumane.
Cram says that is not necessarily the case. He says DSS told him yesterday that if someone requests shelter, it will be provided, even if it means transporting them to another community. Cram says many of the people are choosing to live in encampments because they don't want to follow the rules of society.
Certainly, it should not be illegal to be homeless. It should not be illegal to be in a place where you're searching for services and need help. But that also doesn't give you a license to trash the riverfront, to light fires that could be potentially dangerous, to engage in other criminal activity. Jim, we've seen at these encampments sexual assault, we've seen arson, we've seen intravenous drug use, we've seen these individuals in these encampments threaten city employees.
Cram says all of those removed today had received multiple warnings to move and have even been ticketed for illegal camping. But Rathmell says the warning wasn't enough. She says too often the homeless people lose valuable possessions that they need to survive. Rathmell says she doesn't want people living along the river and under bridges, but the city should coordinate their removal with local street outreach teams that regularly work with these individuals.
We had an outreach team out here last night. I mean, there are people with elderly individuals, significant medical needs that we're doing our best to supply for. But if we bring the medical supplies every week and then it keeps getting thrown in the dumpster, that's not helping anyone. That's certainly not helping public safety.
Cram insists that the city does coordinate with human services agencies like the VOA and YWCA. In fact, he says police connected one of the individuals impacted today with Catholic Charities, which was going to work to find him temporary shelter. Rathmell says the millions of dollars DSS spends each year on hotel rooms would be better spent developing more warming centers, shelters, and housing. In fact, one thing both Cram and Rathmell agree on is that an overall lack of quality, affordable housing is at the crux of the homeless crisis in our area.